Guys, let's just face it. I think we can all agree that live music is pretty awesome. There's just nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite like hearing your favorite song live for the first time, the second time, the millionth time even. And there's also nothing like being so moved by someone's live performance that you went to go check out their music after you saw them live. Touring is like the biggest part of being a musician, I guess, besides making the actual music. It's like the thing that everyone's like aiming towards, I guess. I don't know. I just went on my first tour with Half Alive and Tessa Violet. It was so awesome. There were so many things that completely exceeded my expectations about this tour. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, another big part of this experience that I can't really ignore is how much it opened my eyes to how incredibly broken not only the touring industry is, but just like the music industry in general. I guess first I'll talk about what my perception of what touring would be like was before going on this tour. I had never really thought of what it would be like to go on tour before getting asked to go on tour. I just never thought I would get that far as a musician. The only part of it I had really thought of, honestly, was just like the playing of the music part. I kind of just thought that everyone hangs out before, then you go on stage, you do your thing, you get off stage, you can do whatever you want after you go on stage. You just go to the bar after and party and do rock star stuff like whippets in the bathroom. And maybe your perception of what it's actually like is different. I just had no point of reference because not only is this my first tour, this was basically the first time I'd ever really played live in general, aside for one show at the Moroccan Lounge in LA in November of 2021. First, I want to start out with a lot of the good things that like exceeded my expectations going on tour. Like honestly, the biggest thing that surprised me out of everything on this whole tour was how literally every single person on this tour was like awesome. Well, first of all, I didn't realize how many people were going to be on the tour in general. I had no idea how many people go into like putting on a production like that. Like Half Alive, like it's not just 3 guys. It's like 3 guys and like I don't know, like 10 other people behind the scenes. And if you're putting a group of like 20 plus people, you'd expect that like maybe a couple of the people are like whatever, you know, maybe the couple of the people are like, oh, they're fine, but like, I wouldn't hang out with them. You'd expect a couple troublemakers, you know, in a group of 20 people that you've never met before. Even the people on my team. The only person I knew going into this tour was Nick. Like, I didn't even know my tour manager. I had talked to her on the phone for like 5 minutes before I actually went on this tour and basically lived with her for like 5 weeks. No idea. Not only was like everyone on this tour so nice and genuine and like approachable, everyone on this tour was so just like fun, like, and awesome. And I wish I had more time to hang out with literally every single person on the tour. And that's not normal. Like, I've heard horror stories of people who they go on tour and the headliner doesn't even remember their name. Like, they don't even talk to the opener. It was just unreal. Like, Half Alive and Tessa Violet and everyone that was on their team are some of the most, like, unforgettable people I've ever met. I'm so grateful that this was, like, the group of people I got to tour with for my first tour ever, because I literally couldn't have asked for a better group of people to tour. Like, they were so awesome. The fan base was also just, like, so nice and welcoming and supportive and just, like, really, I felt like it was, like, really cool. I don't know, that was just really cool. And a lot of what I didn't think of at all, really, before going on this tour was, like, how we were going to get from point A to point B. It was like, oh, you know, you don't just, like, spawn. No, you have to drive, like, during the day. And there were some days where we had to get from like one place to one place. We only had like a day to do it if we didn't want to drive on the day of the show. And we'd have like a 15-hour drive. So it was either like, okay, we drive 15 hours this day, or we drive like 11 hours this day and then wake up early and drive 4 hours the next day. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that at all. I was under the impression like, oh, we'll probably have to drive for like 6 hours a day. No, we drove like the entire time. It was a lot. It got to be a lot. But like, honestly, that part of it too was like not as, it was both kind of worse than I expected, but also once I found out how much we had to drive, like truly, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. All right, so now that we've talked about that, let's get to the drama, okay? Let's get to the stuff that is beyond me, beyond you, beyond the concert goer, beyond the band, beyond the crew. Let's get to the industry, the corporation, the man. Let's get to the problems with the man, because there's a lot of problems with that man. The other main thing I did not expect no gauge of at all, was how expensive it is to tour, especially as an opener, especially as a first opener. It is so much. You lose money. You lose a lot of money. No one prepared me for the fact that it's normal for the first opener to lose thousands of dollars. I had no idea. I thought that that touring was the way that you make money, because that's what everyone says, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, you don't make money off streaming. You're supposed to make money off touring. That's where all the real money is, right? So I was like flabbergasted when I was told that I was going to break even on this tour, that I was going to walk away just making no money. But to lose thousands of dollars and not be prepared at all, not even realize how up in the air everything is with making the money back until I'm like in the tour and there's nothing I can do. It's like, if you're a full-time musician, how the hell do you afford to tour? I can only afford it because of the content stuff I've done. Music doesn't make me any money. And to clarify, again, like, this isn't anyone's fault on the tour. This is not in Half-Life's control. This is not in Tessa's control, especially. Like, this is literally just how the industry is. This is the norm of the industry that is being monopolized by one fucking company that doesn't care about any of the people that keep its industry going, both the consumer and the fucking performers. They don't care. To actually play the show, you were only guaranteed $250 a night. When I was brought the opportunity, I was told, like, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money in merch though, and like I'm gonna break even, maybe even walk away making money. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna sell a lot of merch. So I was like, oh, okay. If it's being told to me as if it's like a given, then I'll just trust. You know, I know nothing about this. I don't know what's normal. You know, I'm just like following what I've been told. Like, oh, okay. If you don't think this will financially cripple me and it's gonna be like game changing to my career and I'm gonna break even, then why not? And I get to see the country, make a lot of friends and fans, and play my music live. Like, yeah, sure. What I realized once I got into the tour is like, oh, no, this merch stuff isn't a given. I just have to hope that people will buy the merch. I just have to hope that I did a good enough job that night that it'll convince people to not only check my music out after, but to spend money on my merch. It's like, when I really thought about it, I was like, the fact that people are buying my merch at all is like insane. But the idea behind all of this is like, oh, well, you're losing a lot of money, but the promotional benefit of the show is payment enough. Like, don't think of this as a money-making opportunity, even though that's what everyone says tour is. Think of it as a marketing trip. Think of it as, you know, the benefit of being able to play the show in front of all these people and hopefully have their undivided attention is payment enough. In fact, something I didn't know is that sometimes on larger tours, the opening acts will buy onto the tour. They'll pay money to do this. It's like you're working 24/7 in front of a bunch of people. You have to just hope that you're good enough to catch their attention. It's all up in the air. And there's so many things that factor into being good enough that are out of your control as the first opener too, because you're given such a small budget. I can't afford to have like any stage production. I can't afford to have my own sound guy. I have to use in-house sound every night. A lot of the time, I literally had to go on stage, had no idea what it was gonna sound like in my ears. I got to maybe test my vocal. And a lot of the time, these in-house people would just like forget to turn my microphone on. Like, they just wouldn't turn my microphone on for like several songs. And it's like such a vicious cycle, because it's like you're doing everything you can to hope that maybe you're good enough to capture the attention of these people who have no reason, no obligation to really give you any of their attention other than the fact that they're just there waiting for the band that they came to see. Not only that, but also just the amount of money you have to front before going on the tour. You have to rent the van, you have to like get equipment before you even hit the road, before I even get paid a penny. It's like the van was $5,000. No one told me. I had no idea. Like, literally no idea. I just had to like pay that money and hope like, okay, but like I'm gonna make it back, right? And on top of that, my tour manager told me that I actually did a lot better in merch sales than like what she expected. She was just like not expecting me to sell as much as I did a lot of the time. And I still walked out of this tour losing thousands of dollars. It's like, how does that happen? And I'm not making this video to like complain. I'm not making this video to be like, oh man, like feel bad for me. I like got to do this cool thing and I lost a lot of money doing it. I just think it's really important to talk about how broken this industry is. This is normal, actually. My experience is like exceeds what's normal. Because I guess when you think of tour as like a marketing trip more than a money-making opportunity, because in reality, tour isn't a money-making opportunity unless you're like in arenas, basically. It's almost always going to be a marketing trip. You're almost always going to lose money. You'll be so lucky if you break even on a headliner. If you kind of think about it like that, it starts to make a bit more sense, because if you think about, spending $3,000 on a TikTok campaign to pay and that's probably going to pay 3 to 10 TikTokers versus losing $3,000, but you're able to sort of be a commercial for yourself in front of these people. You get to make an in-person impression on these people, and if you're interesting enough, I guess, have their undivided attention for 30 minutes. That's way more valuable. I think you make a lot more engaged, diehard fans that way if you do a good job. But there are so many factors against you as a first opener that make it harder and harder and harder to be able to do a good job. It's insane. Being able to be a musician is such a privilege. It's such a, cool thing to do, and touring and playing music in front of all these people and feeding off the crowd's energy is such an unforgettable experience. I cannot emphasize that enough. But I've also genuinely never felt that level of mental and physical exhaustion in my life. There were a lot of times where I just felt like people really didn't like me. I've had people come up to me at the booth and be like, I really didn't like you the first 3 times I saw you, but I've been to 4 shows and now I get it. I've had people come up to me at the booth and say, oh, I don't get why everyone around me hated you. I really liked your show. It's like I'm losing all this money. I'm putting in all this work. I'm exhausted. I'm not sleeping. I'm eating shit, if anything. All for people to hate me. And I think other people probably have a different perspective. It's like, oh, I of course I would pay to play my music in front of thousands of people every night. It just really blew my mind because I just had absolutely no idea how much money it costs to tour. I thought the whole point of touring was to make money. That's what they tell you. It's like, oh, when you're a musician, you don't make money off streaming, you make it off of touring and merch. But it's really just merch. And then half the time, these venues that are owned by Live Nation, the people who are choosing to make artists pay to get on these tours or pay these artists just pocket change to them to do this, they're taking money from your merch too. Guess what? A lot of the time, these venues that are owned by this company, it's like, oh, if you make a certain amount of money on merch, we're taking 20% of it. That's such a huge, huge way. That is the only way musicians can make money. And it's what level of fame do you have to get to for a tour to not completely cripple you financially? Little Sims announced that she was canceling her US tour in April of 2022. Do you remember the album she put out in 2021? It was huge. This album was huge for her career. I feel like it completely changed things for her. It was so critically acclaimed. It was one of my favorite albums that year. It was so many people's favorite album that year. It was incredible. She had to cancel her tour in April 2022. Her US tour, 11 shows. She was going to play 11 shows. And she can't even afford to do that because it's so expensive. Animal Collective had to cancel their Europe tour because of financial reasons. And it's okay, cool. Guess what? What? Now you have to get to a Shawn Mendes level of fame. Guess what? He's canceling tours too. Demi Lovato, never touring again. Harry Styles just said he's going on a 5-year break after this tour. He's done. He can't do it anymore. Maybe it's not because of money, but it's because their mental health. And it's not an easy decision to make. You have to get to a low to feel like you would rather cancel these tours. You know your fans are going to be disappointed. You know it's going to hurt your career. It's going to hurt your business relationships. You're going to have to figure out refunding all these people. They're going to be pissed at you. And it's embarrassing for me to admit that I'm so terrified for my headline tour. I feel like this opportunity was presented to me as a great career move by people who should know better than me and should be on my side and look out for my best interest. But I can't help but have a bad feeling that it's going to totally cripple me financially. It's like if Little Sims can't afford to play 11 shows, how am I going to afford to play 20 shows for 4 weeks without being ruined or scrambling to find a label to sign me and give me label support? And now it's oh, cool, I have to do this tour and just accept that I'm probably going to lose a lot of money unless miraculously a bunch of people come to my shows. And then I have to really scramble to find a label. I don't have as much leverage because I really need the money at this point. I got caught in a shitty deal where they take advantage of me and I go insane. But how else are artists supposed to make diehard fans? TikTok? The genuine nature of promoting your music on TikTok has been laid to rest. It's all pay to play now. It's all just another manufactured operation by the labels. So many aspects of the touring industry have complete disregard for people's well-being. Not even just the musicians, not even just the artists they're barely paying and taking money from the one revenue source that actually is going to make them money on this tour. Not even just them. The consumer, the concert goer. You think Live Nation gives a shit about your well-being? I think we've learned by now that they don't. And all these issues, it's all because Live Nation has such a monopoly over this industry and they're getting away with it. It's like, yeah, sure, like the Justice Bureau is investigating like that this is a bad idea, but Ticketmaster and Live Nation merged in like 2012. How long is it going to take them to realize that this is a huge issue? They have a total monopoly. I thought this was like illegal. They can pay artists pocket change to play live. They can take money from small artist merch sales, main support artist merch sales, headliner artist merch sales. They can take money from all your merch sales. They cannot actually put the money they're earning from all of these inflated ticket sales to properly train security, to deal with safety issues, to make it so that maybe you can have free water. Because if one person won't do it, guess what? It doesn't matter. We'd have no leverage because there's thousands of other people who dream to play in front of like all these new people and will literally pay to be on these tours in hopes that maybe these people at the tour will pay attention. Like they're not just doing this for fun. Like they want to maintain power over the artists, over the consumer, over the people that keep their business running. Because they can. And then it just gets in this vicious cycle. They can just make more and more and more money and get away with more just total disregard for anyone's well-being. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm so beyond lucky that I did have the experience I had. That there were so many supportive people on the Half Alive tour, and that the Half Alive fans, I felt like were so welcoming and like, you know, aside from people saying that they hated me, there were so many people in the, you know, crowd. I felt like we're paying attention and like we're curious to hear the music. Like I am so lucky and so grateful that anyone in any of these shows walked away from that show and even just thought to check out my music after, let alone come up to me and talk to me at the merch table and buy a t-shirt. Like, I can't emphasize enough how insane that is. Think about your top 10 favorite shows you've ever been to, top 5 favorite concerts you've ever been to for some of your favorite bands. Tell me who opened for them. Think to yourself, who opened for those bands? Do you remember? And if you do remember, do you still keep up with them? And if you do, that is so great. Like, that's fantastic. Like, that is so awesome. But the reality of it, a lot of the times as an opener, you go up there and you're just forgotten about by the end of the night. If your set's even late enough into the show where people are there to see it in the first place. Like, this industry, it's so broken. The music industry, it's screwed up. You can't make money as a musician. The only reason I have savings in the first place, not because I make music, it's because I make content. It's heart-shattering when you work constantly to, you know, towards something that's completely unattainable. Again, I can't emphasize truly enough. I am so grateful for being able to be a part of this experience. I genuinely cannot imagine going on a tour with a better group of people. Not only the Half Alive team, the Tessa team, and my own team, but the fan base. Like, there were so many people that I'll never forget meeting. And I really hope to see again at one of my shows on my tour. This is not anyone's fault. This is not any of those people's fault. This is just another example of a massive corporation taking advantage of everyone to keep its business afloat and keep its, like, higher-ups making disgusting amounts of money. If you're dreaming of being a musician, if you're, like, a musician now, an aspiring artist, I really hope this doesn't crush your dreams and make you want to stop. I'm not going to stop making music. I just wish that I was more mentally prepared for what touring is like. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any other questions about anything or comments or concerns even, let me know. And thank you so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. If you like this video, please give it a like, you know, subscribe to this channel. If you want to see what else I'm up to, I have music out under Dev Lemons. I make music with Nick. We do Queef Jerky together. We just started a new YouTube channel. It's really funny. And I'm going on tour with Jordana. It's going to be really great. I am really excited for it, despite all of the anxiety that comes with it. And I really hope I don't have to cancel it. So if you want to come, support me and my music or whatever, it would seriously mean a lot. It's definitely going to be a show you will not forget. And let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about next. Please, I love to talk. You guys are the best. You mean a lot to me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever. Bye.